What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLAG.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 2, Episode 4. And it's called Chapter 15, Doctor Cerberus' House of Horror.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines, our MVPs. So be sure to stick around for that.
And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the episode.
Let's get into it. So you liked it, right?
I enjoyed it in the sense that, like, what it stood for. I will say right off the top, it got really long. Like, it just kept going and going, like the Energizer Bunny, and I just like wanted it to stop at one point.
Yeah.
The stories themselves, like self-contained, were interesting to watch.
Right.
And I liked the way that they set it up, but it felt really long.
Yeah, it's kind of like reminiscent of in the first season they had the nightmare episode where it was kind of like chunked into everyone else's nightmare. So it was kind of like that, which I don't really mind the format. Like I like the format. And I didn't mind the episode. There was a couple of things that I was like questioning, but it was okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
I think it was really cool the way it was set up. It was set up like almost like even the beginning was like a horror movie, like an old school, like
it was very like
horror movie.
Horror genre, like throw to that. And I have to say, in terms of production, they do an amazing job. Like when I rip this show apart, I'm ripping really like the storyline, but in terms of the cinematography and the production behind it, it's on point. Like the transitions, like the clips that they use for their transitions are like so seamless and like they're so well done and so planned out, like amazingly. Like big ups to them on that for sure. They
like zoomed into those tarot cards. I'm like, damn, what a lens. I was like, good for you guys.
It was
it was really well done.
Let's start off with who is it first?
Right. So right off the top, it's Cerberus and Hilda in the bookstore, and I guess there's a big storm happening. And
can you just remind me, like, is his demon penis thing gone from his body?
No, I don't think so. I think he's just like holding himself back.
Oh, so he's just
because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, every single time like they touch each other, does he get like a little like boner, like raging boner?
I just didn't understand like where that story ended off.
I was just confused. I think that he's just like holding himself like back a bit.
Oh, okay.
So they're together, whatever. And so some old lady comes in and she's like, I'm a tarot card reader. I will pay you in thanks with like a tarot card reading. So she like sits herself up in like a little area in the corner. And then Sabrina and Nick come in first. That's like the first couple that like walk in. And right off the top, it starts off with those like really harsh title cards, and everybody's name pops up.
They were giving me like headaches. They were so loud.
It was like dong dong. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So the first one we get is Sabrina, and she gets her tarot card reading. And she's worried about Nick lying in last episode, which is the look that we got at the end of the episode. Right. She's worried to trust him because he lied about this one thing. And so she's like basically delving all this information to this full out stranger. And she was like, I don't know if I could trust my boyfriend.
She's like, I don't really like bad boys. But like, because my first person was like so like innocent. And then like now it's like a bad boy and I like him, but I don't know if I trust him. I was like, okay, like why are you telling your life story to this like tarot reader? Yeah, like it was too much. Which, by the way, I just want to say now, like, okay, it is Miss Wardwell, but did you know it was her at this point?
You know what? Watching it back now, I was like totally, like I can see it, but no, I didn't.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even clue in.
Yeah, I didn't clue in
but, like,
at all.
Her eyeballs were like the same.
Yes,
and like
her voice
like even
too.
the questions she was asking, she was like, "Oh, he is a bad boy, isn't he?" And she's like, "True." I'm like, "Who asked these questions?"
I know.
It's only
Watching
Wardwell.
it back, I was like, "Damn, how did I not see her face?" Like her face is in there. It's just like they did really good with like the makeup and stuff like that. But I know. Sorry,
the casting was really good. So it goes into like a story while she's reading her cards, and there's this like talent show that's happening. So she talks to Nick about the talent show because he's like, yeah, I put on a talent show from time to time, like once a year, and the girls like love it, and it's like a little magic show. I do some like regular shit, and she like loses her shit on him. She was like, well, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, I don't want to do this. And because he asks her, I think he asked her to be like the stagehand, like the assistant to his magic show. And first she says yes, but then she like goes crazy after the tarot card reading. She's like, wow, what the like, why would I do that? And then she totally just like leaves him in the dust. And I was like, whoa, you need to like chill the fuck out. So she sits in the back corner while he's putting on the show, and it's just like filled with women. It's like all the girls in the school only. And he first like calls on, I think, Dorcas and the other one, and Porcus. And they both go up there and they get like themselves sliced in half, whatever. Yeah. That was cool. And then it cuts to him getting Prudence to do her thing. Yeah. And he like sends her to like the next realm. Yeah. And then she's like, okay, cool. And all the while, Sabrina's just like rolling her eyes in the back corner. And then at the very end, it's like the last one. He's like, I need someone super duper brave.
But and she does. So when he does, he like astral projects Prudence and she disappears, right? Like she starts freaking out. Like you can hear her voice. She's like, I don't know where I am. Like I'm lost. Like, can you save me? Like, oh my God, I'm lost. So I started panicking too, because I'm like, oh my God, like where is this girl? Like she's stuck in like the middle like universe. And then she comes back because like Sabrina starts freaking out. She's like, LOL. She's like, JK. Like I was fine. I was like, what? Like what kind of magic trick is that? Like it doesn't look good.
Like she's literally in another realm. And then so Sabrina's just like, what the fuck? So she's like, okay, I'm going to go up for the last one. And it's obviously like all about trust. And he's like, you have to trust me if you do this magic spell properly. And she's like, okay, I trust you. And he's like, don't ever think that I'm ever going to hurt you. Like you have to like believe that I'm always like out for you. And I like always want to make sure that you're okay. And so he makes her float. Like that's the magic trick. And so she's floating. And then like everyone's clapping, whatever. But then she keeps like levitating higher and higher. And then you see the weird sisters are sitting in the corner. They're like giggling. And they're the ones that are making her like float without him. Mm-hmm. And they're not bringing her back down. And she's like, what the fuck is happening to me?
And she keeps floating. It was a really cool way they showed it. Like it was really well done.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
She keeps floating and floating. And she's like legit like in space at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
she's literally flying in space. She's going to go find George Clooney. Like she's like gone. And so she keeps going up and up. And then Nick is like, why would you do that to her? Like, you know, like the altitude is gonna like fucking kill her. And then it cuts to this like really creepy shot of basically Sabrina like freezing in space.
Yeah.
Like dead. She's like dead and frozen in space.
Yeah.
So as soon as that happens, it cuts back to the tarot card reading. And obviously like that was a whole dream sequence. And she says, the tarot card reader says, you may not fear the dark path as long as you trust the boy who walks with you. And I'm like, ooh. Mm-hmm. I'm like, so that means that she's got to like,
but that's the thing. She doesn't trust him.
Right. But I think that that's the whole idea is like she needs to trust him.
But why should she trust him when like he hasn't really proved to be trustworthy?
It's true. And I guess he needs to like slowly like make his way.
Yeah. Like if he like does it and works at it and he's like very trustworthy and very loyal, then like it's fine.
Right.
But so far I haven't seen that. So it's like, I don't get why.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, for me, I think it's just that one moment with Amalia that like really fucks shit up. But outside of that, I think outside of him being...
He's been sketchy. The fact that he knew her dad...
because he looks sketchy?
No,
like,
the fact that he knew her dad and like had studied the dad's like everything, and then he was like so lit about her. Like, I don't know. There's just... And then he was talking to Wardwell the whole time. Like, there's just like a lot of things that I feel like he could have other motives, I feel like, for dating her, but who knows?
Yeah, that's true. Like, we're not 100% on him, but he's fucking hot.
And he's hot. Of course he's hot.
He's like, can't help myself.
He's like the devil. Like, he's just so... He's a temptation, you know?
Yeah. And you do have to question why Wardwell, like, if you really think about it now...
That's the thing.
Why Wardwell keeps, like, pushing them together. Exactly. Like, what's the purpose of them being together? You know, like, if he was good news for her, then wouldn't she just, like, want to separate them all the time? Like, I don't know. So, yeah, you could be right.
Especially now, like, Wardwell's mission is to bring down Sabrina as a witch, right? Because she doesn't want to elevate her, because if she does, she's scared that the Dark Lord's going to, like, take her as, like, his next, like, protege. So, if anything, I would feel like she'd want to separate Nick and Sabrina, because I feel like together they'd be stronger. So, I don't really understand the motivation behind her tarot card reading. But anyways.
So, it all ends off, like, in the real world, and they're hanging out, and she was like... Are you my boyfriend though? And he's like, yeah, I want to be your boyfriend.
Boyfriend.
Like, okay. she's like, okay, but you can't hang out with the weird sisters anymore. Sorry. Yeah. And he's like, why? Don't you trust me?
Like,
and
so
she's
possessive.
like, I don't give a fuck. She's like,
yeah.
I'm petty and I don't fucking trust you around them. So yeah. So now like that's, I guess, the deal. Like he can't like be associated with them anymore. So now we cut to Theo. So Theo shows up in the place.
Yeah.
And his storyline is like so weird. I don't know how else to describe it.
It was
like
weird.
It was just bizarre. Like the way that they set it up was really interesting because I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too. I think like we don't have anything to really compare it to. And I think the fact that it's like in this realm of like this teenage show makes me feel weird. But at the same time, when I got to the end of that part of Theo's part, I kind of like got it. I was like, oh shit, like that's pretty crazy.
I feel like it's really deep. Like it's a really deep story for sure.
And it's very extreme. Like it gets to the extreme, but they're trying to like teach you that like this actually happens. Not in this context, but like
not in this context. Yeah. He goes up to the reader and he like right off the top is like, I don't like my body. I want to like change. I want to like see if that's going to happen in my cards that's going to happen. And she was like, let's see what happens. And so it goes into his storyline and basically he says like, you have a magical friend, you should steal from them.
Well, this is the thing, like his aunt Dorothea is like a fucking evil bitch. Like she's like really shady. Like because Theo's just like, yo, like I'm never gonna get surgery, like we can't afford it, whatever. And then the aunt comes and she's like, of course you can, darling, just steal. And then Theo's like, oh, true, I can do that.
Like last season she even told him to steal like the book too. I was like, damn, like, Dorothea was a fucking
Dorothea was a savage. So then like Theo goes to like their house and like that's the thing, like how does she even know where to look for that freaking spell? Like the first thing she finds, she's like, oh yeah, like a thing
found
spell.
it.
I was like, oh, are you crazy?
It's a fantasy, but
whatever.
Yeah, so he goes in and then he like goes through like this basically like this recipe card book and he finds one that's literally that says like gender change.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was like, that's so perfect. Yeah. So
but it was like it was like in the botanical section, like it was where like the trees and like the little plants were. So like
it was like in the greenhouse, which we've never seen before. So he goes home and he gets all the ingredients and he's like, okay, now what do I do? And then I don't know if he's still talking to Dorothea or not, but
Dorothea's like, just wait, go to sleep. And then Theo's like, okay. And then like Theo like falls asleep. And
but like first he puts that
thing on,
like lotion on.
Yeah. Like
he like rubs like the mixture on his body.
Yeah.
And then he goes to sleep.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and he's like a full ass like man dem. Like he
goes in front of the mirror and first of all his voice was like lower. And then he goes in front of the mirror and like I guess they cut to like someone else, like another person's body, but like
they like superimpose his head.
He's like ripped, like the chest is like ripped basically, like his arms are like man hands basically.
They used like a 25-year-old's body like for the transition.
It was like out of proportion, like cause he's so
totally
small, like his frame is very small, but like the hands were like massive. I'm like, okay, like it wouldn't look like this, but fine.
Like relax,
like,
bro. You're not
probably
a
got
monkey.
Like a big dick too. Like fine, like have fun with that.
So he's so happy. He's like, oh my god, this is like my dream come true. The one thing I will say, and this is like you said, this is like the first time I've seen this happen, so like I can't like shade it so hard, but outside of the fact that they did this superimposition, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I think it looked good. Like it passed for me.
His voice was like the worst voice ever.
I didn't mind it
because they took Susie's original voice and then like used a filter that I use on Adobe Premiere all the time and like made it sound like pitchy, or
that's probably what they did.
You know what I mean? It just sounds like they like didn't do enough like sound work on it. I was like, you guys went this far, and it was like it sounded like he was underwater. So whatever.
Okay, yeah, I didn't mind it as much, but yeah. So what happened?
You're like, you're
like in the grand scheme of things, I was like, this. He has a penis now, so like good for him. Yeah. Anyway, so he goes to the gym, like to the basketball, and like he's like scoring effing points, like it's so crazy,
killing it.
And like all the guys are like feeling him. They're like, yo, Theo, like you scored like all those threes, like you beat the Bulldogs. And I was like, oh my God, the Bulldogs is like Riverdale High. I'm like, wait, was Archie there? No, because Archie's probably like doing some damn boxing freaking thing. I thought that was kind of cool. And then Theo was like so happy. He's like, yes, like everyone loves me. And then he like looks down at his finger, and it's like there's like a weird like root, like a green root or something. It looked so like gross. Vein. It looked like the skin was so like gross. Unfolding. And then he lifts up his shirt, like his sweater, and like half of his like arm is like starting to get covered with like this green, like molesish kind of texture, almost like a tree trunk or something.
Which is what it is.
And
so
I'm
then
like,
he goes back to like here it goes. So then he goes back to the Spellman house and he talks to Hilda, and he's like, I stole from you. I'm so sorry, but I need to fix this. Like, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
And Hilda basically says,
she was like, okay, I can do it. Like, I can reverse it. Or like, she says, no, it can't be reversed. But then like, also Theo was like, but I don't want to let my body go.
Yeah. So he decides essentially to either cut off like the infected arm or let go of the body.
Yeah.
And the dad comes in and he's like, I'll support you through whatever. And the dad literally saws his chops the arm off. So let's really
break down this scene, because for me this was the most traumatizing scene. And I think obviously like I don't know what that feels like to like sex change, but it made me really like see it in that way of like this kid would rather lose his arm than lose everything. Like he wants that body so much, and he feels like that is his body so much that he's okay with losing one of his limbs. And and it's like, it's really just so sad. And so, I mean, you're like, what would you do when you feel like yourself finally? And it's like, no, you can't have it all, so you just cut off your freaking arm.
They definitely handled this really well. I was actually really proud of them for putting this story together the way that they did.
Yeah, it was really dark. It was really
dark. It was really a really weird way to show it. I think they illustrated the point like pretty.
Did you think they were gonna chop off her arm?
Yeah, I mean when he said yes, I was like, okay, they're gonna do it. They're like legit gonna do it.
Yeah.
I was a little shocked, but at the same time I was like, okay, of course he's gonna chop his arm off because it means so much to him. And so it was kind of cool because he's sitting up in bed and he doesn't have an arm anymore. And they're like, okay, well, now you can rest. Like, you're good to go. And he's like, cool. At least. And then he said, best of all, like, I'm still me.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like, it really does mean something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it really does mean something for someone who transitions and really feels stuck in the wrong body. And like, I was really like very like honestly big ups to the writers for putting this together.
It was well done, I have to
impressed.
Say. Yeah. So and then this part killed me. I'm so sorry, but I started to laugh because like he's sitting in his bed and like the blanket's like over him. And I was just waiting for like the penis jokes to like kind of start, but like so far like they nothing was said really.
Nothing.
And then he's in his bed, and then he kind of like pats like it was the leg, but it looked like it was like the crotch area. And he's like patting it, and I'm like, oh, like the penis is still there. And then he like opens the blanket, and he's looking at his legs, but I was like, oh, like I thought they were gonna go there.
Legs.
And his legs are basically like tree trunks, and they're like curled up like really in a freakish way.
So gross.
And then he freaks out. He starts screaming.
Yeah, and then he wakes up, like the dream ends.
Yeah.
And essentially, the tarot card reader finishes the story by saying, seek help early, which I think is a really cool message to have at the final end of this is, reach out to your friends now.
But what does that mean?
To like get to
if you can't get help, why does seek help early make a difference? Like at the end of the day, like Theo wanted a sex change. He wanted a body change. So like if that's not physically possible, why does it even matter if you seek help early?
I mean, I think it just means like don't like leave this on your own. Like he did it all on his own record in the episode, right? So it's more, I think, just like getting the support from the people that love you and like talk to them about these things that you're actually feeling. So I really like the message that they gave, and it wasn't like cheesy to the point where I was like, okay, guys, this is like an after school special.
Yeah.
But it was really well done in that sense for like anyone who would be feeling that way themselves. Like, I think it was a really cool story to see. I was very impressed by it. So then it cuts to Roz's reading. So she comes in, and basically she can't even like make it to the fucking like bookstore because she's blind. She's like blind AF.
Yeah.
We forgot to talk about it last episode, which was one of the big moments of last episode, was she goes blind while she's like making out with Harvey, remember?
Yes, that happened.
So in this episode, she's like full out blind, like she can't see shit. And she's going to the diner with her dad, and her dad is like just talking to her about stuff, and the reader sees her, like she like sees her from afar, so she comes over and she's like, let me read your cards. And Roz is like, I don't know if I want to do this, and she's like, it's okay, you're like a cunning bitch, like you got that shit on your eyeballs. And she's like, okay, like let's do this. So in her dream sequence, she gets a surgery that's supposed to reverse her blindness, the effects, like essentially,
and she basically gets the money to pay for it because her dad asks like the whole the congregation, the church. He's like, I need money, so they give her the money for the surgery, and then in doing so, she finds out later on that some other next girl went blind so that she could get her eyesight back, and of course she feels terrible and she's like, no, I didn't want this, like why did this happen? And then I think the gist of it also was the fact that when I think she woke up or whatever at the end, she was like, I don't want the congregation to pay for the surgery, like I want to be able to pay for it ourselves, and then I'll do it, like no one else is going to pay for my surgery. So she's going to basically not pretend but like be blind throughout until she can afford it herself. Yeah, and I loved her part the most. I think it kind of all made sense. The guilt was a lot though. Exactly. And like it was really scary to see it. I was like, oh my God. It was like very dramatic, but yeah. She was like, my eyes were scooped out of my eyeballs for your eyeballs. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, okay, I don't think it's gonna happen like that, but okay. Like it's never gonna work out that way. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like, yeah, she wants to do it herself, which is like totally fine. But at the same time, like if you have the ability and you have the option, there's so many people who would kill to like have their sight back. You know what I mean? They would kill. So she doesn't want to do that. Oh, she doesn't want to do that. She good. And I was actually surprised that they didn't touch on the fact that she like may or may not lose the cunning, which is like the big question for me, right? Like we know that her sight when she loses her eyesight. Exactly. So like, does that mean when she gets her eyesight back, she's gonna be like a normal girl? Yeah, she won't come anymore. Yeah, she ain't be cunning anymore. I don't know if Harvey's gonna like that. So anyway, I don't know if like they're gonna ever touch up on that because I can't imagine her being blind for the entire series, just because I can't imagine this like it's teenage character like just like cunning and blind. Like I just don't see it. Like I don't know if that makes sense for it's like Arya going blind in Game of Thrones. Like you knew that it wasn't gonna last forever. It's just there as like kind of like a story element a little bit, and then it would like go back, whatever. Who knows? But that's why I'm kind of surprised because it seems like a very strong part of her personality, right? Like her persona. Yeah. Like it's all like the cunnings connect to her blindness, and like it runs in her family. So, and they introduce it so early on. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it. All I'm saying is I guess I've never seen it outside of like Daredevil being like a blind superhero. I've never seen like a blind person as one of the main leads in a story. So it's going to be interesting to see how they treat it. It'll just be different. Not at all. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that situation if that becomes the situation. Yeah. So then it cuts to Zelda showing up. So she shows up and she's like so excited because she's like gonna get married to Blackwood. So her whole nightmare or her whole dream is all about the wedding. So I think the tarot card reader basically says like you have a secret, and Zelda's like, what secret? And then like zooms into the cards and it shows how she has this big secret with baby Letitia and the fact that she like fucking sent her off to like be adopted in the woods. So she to like get rid of her guilt, she's like, let me like find Desmelda and see if I can like talk to her about the baby. So she goes to see Desmelda in the woods, and as we remember, Desmelda's the one that had like an eyeball like basically hanging out. Yeah, and she was like old, she was like old as shit. 700,000 years old. Yeah. So she shows up and Desmelda's there, but she's like this young bitch now. Like she's like one of the fucking housewives of like the woods now, and she's like
She's like, hey girl, how's it going? And Zelda's like, what the fuck's happened to you? Like, where is Letitia? And she's like, I got young because I ate a baby.
Yeah.
And like Zelda fucking goes crazy. She's like, you ate the baby? And she's like, yeah, that's why I'm young now. She's like, it's all good. I'm gonna go like join the coven now. Like, I'm gonna come to your wedding.
Yeah.
And so it like shows that whole sequence. Blackwood ends up like making out with Desmelda behind closed doors, and Zelda's like, don't do it, it's like your daughter, but like not really, but like I like you didn't know you had a daughter, but also like that's your daughter, and she's like in a different form. So then that's her nightmare. And
what do you think that all means? Like, do you think that just means that like she's scared of getting older and that she's scared of like the younger, hotter witch?
No, I think it's more just the big secret and like what it can do to the two of them. You know what I mean? And, you know, I think it does also resolve the fact that Letitia is missing, because every single time I see the other baby with Blackwood, I'm like, for fuck's sake, I can't believe Zelda stole a goddamn baby.
I know. And like gave it to like that woman in the woods. Like, what the hell?
Like, that was your resolved situation. So yeah, I don't know if that's gonna come and bite her in the ass, or this was like a conclusion that she's just gonna keep it a secret, because essentially the tarot card reader was like, some secrets are best left like secret. Like, don't go and tell him this thing. Just like keep it at bay. Then it cuts to Harvey's. So Harvey comes in and he's just trying to figure out like what he's going to do with his life. Like, he's like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Am I going to go to school? Like, am I going to be able to pursue my arts? And then it goes into his dream sequence, and he ends up like getting into art school, and it's like far away. Like, it's not in Greendale. And he gets this roommate, and his roommate's like fucking weird and crazy. And his roommate in the middle of the night like starts like drawing all these paintings, and there's like this creepy glowing light, and he's like, more pose, like he's like talking to somebody. And so Harvey talks to him, and he's like what the fuck is going on with you? And he says like, yeah, like there are these demons that come out of this door, and I think it's like a gateway to like hell. And because he sees like a painting of the Dark Lord, and obviously Harvey like recognizes him because he saw him in the cave when he was like young. And so he like gets like, he glitches out, and he's like, oh my god, what are you drawing? And then I think he's like, he's like, there's something happening with the demons, like something's happening, they're like coming together, but I'm just gonna keep painting them because I feel like it keeps them like calm, like it kind of like holds them back. And then he's like, okay, cool, bro, like I'll see you later. So then he goes to sleep, and the next morning he wakes up and his like fucking friend is like hanging, he's like dead.
That's crazy.
And I was like, whoa, this like went really dark real quick. So Harvey ends up having to like figure out the situation. So he waits till nighttime, and the wind, like the door again starts to glow, and then he opens the door, and it's like fucking glowing, and there's like demons like all around. And then he wakes up like from his tarot card reading, and essentially the woman is like, you don't have to leave Greendale to like get your like life. Like, I don't know how that was the resolve of his dream, but he basically is told like, you don't need to leave to pursue your art dream. And Harvey's like, okay, cool, thanks, bye. But I was wondering what it all meant in terms of like the demon aspect of it, and like I think, whether or not there's like truth to that.
Yeah, I think from what I took from it, it almost felt like this kid is gonna have a lot of demons to deal with, like emotionally and mentally. Just from like being an outsider in his crazy town, and like experiencing like Roz's cunning and like obviously Sabrina's witch, I feel like he's gonna be left with a lot of that trauma from like not understanding a lot of this, but still being like subjected to it. So that's how I took it.
Oh, that's deep, girl. That's some like real shit. That's some like real Cliff's Notes. So the final one, and I was like, thank God, can we stop now? I know. So it ends off with Ambrose. And his is really weird, because I think that even in this episode I forgot like how much of like a douche he's become. And he really has a moment where he's kind of like, his whole thing is all about like deciding whether or not he has to be a douche or like protect his family. So he in his sequence, he talks to Blackwood, and Blackwood's like, yo, like your life is like good, and you know, like you're like getting up in the world, but now I need you to like take care of your family, like get your house in order. And he literally makes him like a Harry Potter wand. So he makes a Harry Potter wand, and then he's like, you have to like kill your family now. So in the dream sequence, he like goes to literally everybody. He kills Zelda, he kills Hilda, and then he kills Sabrina. And then it's like done. And I was like, holy shit, like this is like for real, for real.
Like, what does that mean?
And then it got really dark, and it just like shows that I guess that he has to like choose a path, and then he gets so freaked out because the path of night and the path of light, and she like is about to flip the last card, and then she's like, maybe you don't want to see this card, and he's like, what do you mean? And he takes the card, and his like eyes like pop out of his head, and he runs away. He like literally runs away. And so he goes to talk to Father Blackwood, and Father Blackwood is like, oh, just as an FYI, like your boyfriend's dead now. And I was like, what's happening?
It's really, you know what? It's really weird because it almost felt like everyone else's reading, there was reality and then there was like this dream sequence. But his kind of felt like it kind of meshed in a little bit. Like I almost didn't know if like he was leaving the table for real, or was this still like Inception, but like it was still like his tarot reading. Inception. Do you know what I mean? Like
it was full out Inception.
It was hard to tell when he was actually out of like the reading.
Right. So because Lucas is now dead, which is the real,
so
like
weird.
He's actually dead. Blackwood says to him like, oh, now that you have to take his place in like the Judas club, like it's like an exclusive club for boys. And I was like, isn't he? I thought he was already a part of like the boys club. So I don't know like what his next boys
and like
club
wasn't he top boy?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Like you're top boy. Why do you have to be in another club?
Why do you need to be promoted like again?
It just doesn't make
I don't
sense,
know.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. So my question at this point is Lucas really dead? Do you think he's dead? Well, your cardinal rule is...
Yeah, if you don't see it, it's probably not true. But at the same time, I feel like Lucas is so extra and so random that, like, why would it even matter if he's dead or alive? Like, do I really give a shit?
I agree, 100%. I was like, his storyline was shit. He was a douchebag anyway.
Exactly.
Like, unless he comes back and, like, kills it, I don't even know.
I don't know.
But I was like... I wanted to quickly look up, but I didn't even care enough to like look up if the actor like left the show. But I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if he literally disappeared. Like he's never going to come back. But I will say the one part that is left questionable that we still haven't seen a resolve to, and I'm surprised that they've left it this long, is as we all remember, or maybe you guys have forgotten because it's taken so long, Lucas was introduced because there was a murder of like another male witch and the familiar like died, you know? So there's a dark side to Lucas that we don't really know. And that whole storyline about like people getting killed, like witches getting hunted.
I understand what you're saying, but it really feels like they're just creating like self-contained episodes. Like it's really, really hard to see the entire scope of the season. Everything is just so contained to that episode. And I don't know. So
you're right. They really chapterize these where like it's like a full out movie each episode. And it's true. Like you don't know like what's the next situation and how they're going to connect, because I forget half of these things. And then I'm like, oh yeah, true. Lucas was like a fucking psychopath. Oh yeah, true. Lucas like drank that love potion. So he's not really in love with Ambrose, but nothing ever like comes of it. Yeah. Nothing ever connects and nothing ever like makes any sense.
And as a viewer, that makes you very stupid because you feel like when you generally watch a TV show, you connect everything. You're like, wait, this might this might go to something later. Like this might connect here. And you start thinking that way. But when a show does this, where everything is so isolated and like nothing ever gets closed off, you start becoming that way too. You're like, I'm not even gonna think about it because like it's probably not even gonna come back later.
True.
So yeah, like in terms of the whole Lucas thing, like, do I give a shit? No, because I just don't care, because I'm like, they probably won't come back. Yeah. Because they probably just left that open ended. Because the writing is so shitty, you know?
That's a really good point.
You can see, I can feel it when I'm watching a show like Game of Thrones and then I'm watching a show like Riverdale, and I'm not comparing them like that they're like one's better or one's worse. I'm just saying,
right,
where I started, like with Game of Thrones, I was always invested and like I was connecting all the dots. Riverdale, I did, and then they lost me in season 3. Like I just stopped because I'm like, they're not even connecting their own storylines, and I'm supposed to connect them. Like, come on.
You're like, why are you doing this to me? You're not even doing your work. Yeah.
Anyways.
So anyway, so that's kind of the end of the episode. The last final sequence we see is it turns out that the tarot card reader is actually Wardwell. She ends up back at the cottage and she like sits down on the chair and she's like, hey, like now that I have all her friends in place, like she's going to be like lit. Like she's talking about her friends and like Sabrina and shit. And she pulls like a final card and it's the Empress card. So like it's supposed to show like she's going to become like the Queen of Queens.
Yeah.
And that's how the episode ends. So yeah, all in all, I think it was a decent episode. Like you said, I think it was shot really well. I think the concept is like really interesting. But to your point, I really do think that these self-contained episodes make you stop caring about what happens next.
Yeah, because
what
you
happened
feel
before.
like there isn't going to be a consequence because nothing's going to really connect anyway. So you're like, whatever.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get into our recap roundups.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. I think we had the best moment, so you take it.
Yeah, my best moment's gonna be the magic show. I thought it was really cool to watch.
Yeah.
I know it's like really hokey, but like I thought it was really cool.
It was tense. Like I liked it. It was kind of dramatic, and I'm like, oh my god, what's he gonna do now? Like, is he gonna fuck up? And it was kind of entertaining to watch him fuck up. Like in a room full of girls, he was trying to impress everyone, and he kept like kind of messing up. So that was a little amusing, and then just seeing her like float up, and I was like, oh my god, this is like really fun.
She
but
won't
also
die.
Scary. Yeah.
WTF moment.
My WTF moment, I think, definitely is the Theo scene, especially when like the dad actually cuts off his arm. I just didn't think it would go there, and then when it did,
tense.
I was just gagged at the fact that this kid would rather lose his arm than change his body, this new body that he's gotten, and it kind of just hit me, and I was like, holy fuck, like this must be how people feel. Like they would go to these drastic measures to keep the body that they've gotten, or like to get the body that they want. It was shocking.
A pretty intense storyline.
Yeah.
My WTF moment is Roz and how that whole thing ended up with the blind girl and how she like literally ripped her band-aids off. She's like, you stole my eyeballs, and I was like, oh my god, girl, relax, like it's not that serious. Because I was like, what the fuck, where's the story going? And then I was like, okay, I guess I'll go with it.
MVP.
We had the same MVP, and that was obviously Mrs. Wardwell, because I think she literally like even like thinged us, like she tricked us. So I was like, girl, you even got me, so you're my MVP.
I was like, wow.
My only question to that, and a lot of the reviews that I was reading, they asked the same question. They were like, what's her intention to do this? Like, was she just bored one day in the cottage and she was like, oh, I'm gonna go to like the store and like do tarot readings? Like, what's her why did she do this? Like,
what's her final reasoning?
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know, and I didn't really find the answer to that.
And I think that's the thing, going back to what you were talking about with the episodes, I think that with this show, like it's like they just decide to like put these characters into these storylines without giving them like a reasoning. Like there's no real like motivation for them, so you're just supposed to go along with it, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. Like this didn't really make much sense, but like it set the tone for the episode, and you know, it was all styled the same that way, that like it would go into this tarot card reading. So like it was cool in concept, but like why would Wardwell be doing this? Like in the larger scheme of things, it doesn't connect to me. Like I don't understand what her whole like reasoning is behind that. Maybe you guys can let us know. If you have any theories, let us know please in the comments below.
LVP.
My LVP is gonna go to, I don't know, like I wrote down literally like Theo, Harvey, Roz, Nick, Ambrose, everyone. I just didn't understand.
Why?
I don't know. I just didn't understand. Like, I don't know.
You're just like, I didn't like any of them. My LVP is gonna go to Sabrina, because I felt like she like lost her fucking mind on Nick, and I understand what you mean by like you can't trust him, but I also feel like she needs to give him a chance, and I think that all comes with like just throwing yourself into it and seeing if it works out. And
yeah, for sure, like have fun with it.
Yeah, and like I think that's what she needs to do. And I think like it's really tight when you're like, choose your girlfriend over friends. I'm like, that's kind of tight. He's like, you can't hang with,
but like they're not really friends.
I'm like I mean,
they are,
they,
but
like they've known each other for years. Like they just want to fuck each other.
That's the thing. Yeah. And like also like it's not like this guy's like innocent. Like he was literally having orgies last season. So I feel like she has every reason to be skeptical of him. Like reason. You know.
That's fair. That's fair.
The best line.
My best line I had 2, but the first one was, "You need not fear the dark path as long as you trust the boy who walks it with you," which I thought was like very like the show is all about feminism, and then I was like, "Bish, what?" I feel like that's just like going in the opposite direction, but like fine, whatever. I liked it.
Right.
And then my second one was, "Did you see those bulldog clowns trying to block Theo's 3-pointers?" And I was like, oh my god, like it was like a Riverdale reference that I really liked, and it was really cute. I wish I saw somebody from the team, like Reggie or something, that would have been cute.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Literally anybody.
Anyone.
Even Moose.
Kevin.
Kevin. My best line is gonna go to Nick because I'm gonna give him a chance because I think he's fucking hot. That's the only reason why. When he says, you do know that I never do anything to hurt you, Sabrina. And I think that's a pretty bold statement to make. And you know, if he's true to his word, then they're gonna be together for fucking ever. And I'm down for that because he
hot.
Beautiful man. He beautiful man now. That is the episode, guys. Let us know what you guys thought about it in the comments below. Make sure you guys are asking us questions. Let us know what you guys thought about the episode and give us like all of your deets. I'm going to take the time to thank our patrons of the episode, our lit rewinders, Tina Ann, Sarge, Serena, and Kate, and our mommy rewinders, Becca, Sarah, Tamla, and Tanya.
And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you'll get access to all things Recap Rewind, exclusive contests, content, and updates.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and you can check us out on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.